My name is Kim Chappell, and I am the worship associate for today, and I'm also on the Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Lancaster this morning. Several notes about this month and today. This month is Women's History Month. Today is the 5th Sunday of the Christian period of Lent. This past Thursday marked the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. And this coming Friday will be the International Transgender Day of Visibility, dedicated to celebrating transgender people and raising awareness of discrimination faced by transgender people worldwide, as well as a celebration of their contributions to society. Here, we come together to nourish the spirit, connect in love, and act for justice. We welcome you this morning just as you are, whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, however you identify. Today, you are part of this spiritual community. And if this is your first time here, may you soon discover that this is also your spiritual community. As has become our custom, let's give a special welcome to all of those joining the service this morning on Zoom. I invite those on Zoom to turn on your cameras and wave back and share a wave together. And everyone in the sanctuary, let's wave at the camera at the back of the sanctuary to send our greetings. During our time together, please do what you need to do to feel fully present in this space. You can move, sway, walk around. If doing something with your hands helps you feel present, please feel free to use the hands-on materials that are in the Women's Memorial Room, just at the divider between the sanctuary and the Women's Memorial Room. We have been posting an open position for 1 or 2 childcare assistants to help in our play area, but we've had no luck so far hiring someone. Do help get the word out if you might know of a good candidate who might be interested. Families are welcome to use the playroom during the service, and someone will be able to show you where it is. All we ask is that you leave it as you found it so that it's ready for the co-op's use on Monday. You could even use your device and follow along with the service while you watch your little one. Let us consider this sacred space that we are now in and acknowledge the truth of the land beneath and around us. We are gathered on land once inhabited by people known as the Susquehannock and the Conestoga. We acknowledge the violent legacies of genocide, displacement, and settlement that led to our being here today, and remind ourselves to live humbly in relationship with this land and with all the indigenous peoples still living and loving on this continent. Many indigenous people will say, all are relatives. May we live into this truth and aspiration together. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our minister, the Reverend Patricia Guthmann Haresch.
Thank you, Kim. Good morning, everybody. Can you believe that our prelude was a Beatles song? I just want to point it out. It was beautiful. I also want to mention our chalice lighting will be from the late religious educator, Sophia Faz-Lyons. And so I'm going to take a moment just now. We have another great religious educator with us. I'm just going to point out in our front row is Andrea Perry Lerner. There's more about her in your order of service. She will be our consultant after the service to talk about our future in faith development, lifespan faith development. So just a note. but let us light our chalice with these words. And we're going to talk about prayer this morning, and that's why I picked these words. You all decided I was going to talk about prayer. Number 3 on the list of, it was first sin, then God, and now prayer in terms of wounded words. But sometimes we think we need to pray to something or for something. Sometimes it's just being in a place of awe. But I thought I'd share Sophia Foslyon's words, I always say it wrong, Sophia Lyons-Foss words about awe. We gather in reverence before the wonder of life, the wonder of this moment, the wonder of being together, so close yet so apart, each hidden in our own secret chamber, each listening, each trying to speak, yet none fully understanding, none fully understood. We gather in reverence before all intangible things that eyes see not, nor ears can detect, that hands can never touch, that space cannot hold and time cannot measure. We gather in reverence before the wonder of life. Today, our music and tech director, Eli, is taking a deserved break. So you just have me for helping you lead into the hymns today. Our first hymn today is Blessed Spirit of My Life, number 86 in your hymnal. Alan will play a little intro. I'll give you the signal, and we can rise in spirit or voice or from our seats. Number 86 in your gray hymnal. This is a time in the service where we look into the mystery wonder box, see what's there, and share a story. Is there anyone who'd like to come up and help me figure out what's in the wonder box? Those who are children by age and spirit, you're all welcome to come on up. Oh, come on up. When everybody's gathered, we can peek in the box. Hi, how are you? Good morning. Come on up. Oh, so good to see you. Wow. Would anyone like to go up and peek into the box and take out what might be in there? Would you like to do that? What's in there? Oh, sounds crunchy. What is that? Can you? Pretzels. Do you know this area is known for pretzels? Yes, the whole world might not know of pretzels if it wasn't for manufacture in Lidditz. Is that amazing? Now, if you'd like, we're not supposed to eat in the sanctuary, but you can, yeah, I see someone's ears and, yeah. If you want to give each person a pretzel, because it's going to be important for what we're going to share. Can you open it up, or do you need help? And just folks up here will give you a pretzel, and then you can take it back with you. I know, I might need help too. So I want you all to look at the pretzel, because everyone, you can share, you can have pretzel. I don't think they're gluten-free, but you can go ahead and just look at it today, and you can pass the bag around too. That's okay. You can just look at it. And there's a special shape. These aren't those stick pretzels. No, we're talking about the curly Q pretzels. Now today we're talking about prayer. Do any of you know what pretzels have to do with prayer? No?
Stop the signal.
Pardon?
Stop the signal.
Stop the what?
Stop the signal. Prayer and pretzel.
Oh, prayer and pretzel. Well, there was a baker, like hundreds of years ago. He was a friar and an abbot, and that's when you go and you devote your whole life to God. And he was the baker. And he was finding that people, especially children, weren't remembering to say their prayers. And he had leftover dough, and he fashioned them into a shape that's a common way to pray, like this, with your head bowed. Does that look like that pretzel?
Yes.
And so it was a reminder to pray, was this pretzel shape, right? And there was a name for it when it started in Italy, we think, and then it went also to Germany. The Italian word was prezziola. Prezziola. Does that kind of sound like pretzel?
Yes.
And then the German word was bretzel, right? So that sounds even more like pretzel, right? And prezziola actually means little reward. Because what the friar would do is if the children said their prayers, they would get their little reward, their pretzel. And at some point, pretzels, remember that Kim said, actually Kim was the one who clued me in on this. Kim mentioned that this is the period of Lent for many Christians. This is a time when you simplify your diet, you might not eat sugar, you might not have a lot of fat. There's many traditions. This little reward fit right into Lent. No chocolate, no sugar, no fat, no alcohol. It was perfect, this little reward. So that pretzels became associated with Easter. Anyway, I also think about something to remember. So when you, from now on, get a pretzel and you look at it, you can think of prayer. And I want you also to think about gratitude. For in the Jewish tradition, you would never put something in your mouth like sustenance, like food, or water, or juice, or anything without saying a blessing, without expressing thankfulness and gratitude for this gift from the earth, the gift from the community, the greater universe. If you were Jewish, you would say from God. Everything, even a little pretzel, is a gift. So maybe when you eat a pretzel, and you'll be able to take the whole bag to the class, and also there'll be gluten-free pretzels there too. every time you look at a pretzel, which are so common in Lancaster, right? I didn't know till I came here, you guys started it all. And those pretzels from Hammond's and wherever they are better than any other pretzels I've ever had. So whenever you see a pretzel, you can be filled with gratitude, be thankful for your community and your family, everybody, for how this food came to us, right? And think of that Priziola, right? Anyway, why don't you'll be following Michelle and Sue's out to class, and while you go, why don't we sing you out number 1057 and the teal hymnal, Go Lift It Up. I feel like a one-woman show here without Eli. But I got my Alan and my Kim. And Diane soon will be with us too. This is a time in the service where we go to that quiet place, where we go to the center of our very being, our hearts. And just as Sophia Lyons-Vaz, thank you, reminds me of my childhood. Her lessons were so much a part of my Unitarian childhood. My minister as a child was Arthur Foote, and these words come from him. Let us learn to be fully alive and alert, to be wholly and solely ourselves, and wide awake between sleep and sleep. When we absently turn away from love, from beauty, from human need, and grow preoccupied with trivial concerns and superficial wants, let something always reawaken us to recognition of the depth and wonder of this reality that surrounds us, that beckons us when we are agitated and anxious, annoyed, or distract us. Let us remember the way back to inner quiet and serenity. May it be so. As we do, I'm going to first share some joys and sorrows and complex truths out loud that we might all share. And as I do, Kim will be planting some stones in the sand, and may we think of those as seeds that will spread out love and compassion and hope and joy. And then I'll invite you to share your joys and sorrows in silence and plant your seeds of hope and joy and love. I want to think, I've been thinking of these continued reports we've been getting. So stones of sorrow and concern of more school shootings and more black men killed by police. It's just the way of the world, it seems, and has been for a long time. Stones of sorrow for victims and also the families and the communities who are suffering this loss. May we be moved to action to reduce the perpetuation of gun violence and violence in our world. Many stones of care and concern for the families and communities in Mississippi and Alabama who have lost loved ones and property and communities to the tornadoes. I'm from Minnesota. I know the terror there is when you hear the sirens, and may our hearts be with those families. Stones and Care, a little closer to home in West Reading, where there was that, an explosion of the candy factory. Some are still missing. So for the loss and also those wondering about their loved ones, yes? I usually don't take a moment for a personal note, but because it's so much on my mind, my two sisters were born exactly 4 years apart on the same day, my two older sisters. I don't know if that was really careful planning on my parents' part, but my sister Deb was my sister Sue's fourth, birthday present. My sister Sue is going to turn 70 today. I can't believe it. My jolly, happy, energetic sister Sue with big smiles and a big heart. So anyway, that's a joy for me. I don't often walk up and put my stones in, so Kim will do that for me. But this is the time now for you, if you would like to come and plant your stones of joy or sorrow, complex truths, you're invited now. Just a bit longer, let us take a moment of silence together and be still in this room together and hold those joys and sorrows and complex truths spoken and unspoken in our hearts. Let us be still.
Today's reading is a poem by the late Mary Oliver, I Happened to Be Standing. I don't know where prayers go or what they do. Do cats pray while they sleep half asleep in the sun? Does the opossum pray as it crosses the street? The sunflowers? The old black oak growing older every year? I know I can walk through the world, along the shore or under the trees, with my mind filled with things of little importance, in full self-attendance. a condition I can't really call being alive. Is prayer a gift or a petition, or does it matter? The sunflowers blaze, maybe that's their way. Maybe the cats are sound asleep, maybe not. While I was thinking this, I happened to be standing just outside my door with my notebook open, which is the way I begin every morning. Then a wren in the privet began to sing. He was positively drenched in enthusiasm. I don't know why, and yet, why not? I wouldn't persuade you from whatever you believe or whatever you don't. That's your business. But I thought of the wrens singing. What could this be if it isn't a prayer? So I just listened, my pen in the air.
So are you going to be looking sideways at the cat when you go home? Is that cat praying? Why pray? I mean, why pray? Do we pray? Why do we pray? This past winter, I shared a portion of a beautiful sermon that flowed like a poem from Reverend Gretchen Thompson. It was titled Red Bird in White Snow. She says, a person has to start somewhere, and to even begin, you need a name, it seems. Don't you need a name of the thing that you're praying to? And if there is no thing that you know you want to pray to, or if you have doubts of that, how do you begin? How do you begin a prayer? Now, sometimes when I'm talking about prayer, I like to do the hokey pokey. We're not going to do that now. Maybe we need to. We've been a little too quiet and reverent, but I like the hokey pokey because in the end, you put your whole self in. That's what prayer is, putting your whole self in and being present to the moment. You never knew it, but the hokey pokey is the most spiritual song there ever was, right? And then I think back, one of my first lessons in breaking free from thinking prayer was only one way, one kind, one form, one purpose, was a poem that was read when I was a little girl in my Unitarian Children's Chapel. And I've tried to Google who the author is. Every time it comes up, it's anonymous. But it goes, the proper way for a man to pray, said Deacon Lemuel Keyes, the only proper attitude is down upon the knees. Nay, I should say the way to pray, said Reverend Dr. Wise, is standing straight with outstretched arms, with shining upturned eyes. No, 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 said Elder Snow, such posture is too proud. A man should pray with eyes fast closed and head contritely bowed. It seems to me his hands should be austerely clasped in front, with both thumbs pointing, to the ground. I don't even know. How do you do that? Said Reverend Dr. Blunt. Last year I fell in Hodgkin's well, head first, said layman Cyril Brown, with both my heels a-sticking up and my head a-pointing down. And I done prayed right then and there, best prayer I ever said, the prayingest prayer I ever prayed, a-standing on my head, okay? So lots of different ways to pray. Yep, every single one of them was right. How might one pray? Why do we pray? While I was taking a class at seminary on different forms of prayer, I was asked why I prayed, and they probably really meant, why do Unitarian Universalists pray? What do we pray to? And of course, a good Unitarian response is, I don't have the answer for everybody. There's lots of different answers to that question. I can't answer for everybody. But then I was thinking about it, that it was difficult for me to come up with a simple, straightforward response concerning just me in prayer. Why do I pray? For many, especially Unitarian Universalists, and as you voted, prayer was number 3, in the top 5 of wounded words that you have difficulty with. The whole topic of prayer can be baffling sometimes, and even painful for a variety of reasons. Maybe you were raised in a tradition where you were taught that something about prayer that didn't settle with you. Perhaps your prayers weren't answered too many times. We may associate prayer or meditation with people who seem self-righteous. Maybe you know a few of those. People trying out the latest religious fad. Oh, they're praying this way. No, they're doing the different meditation this way. Hot yoga, cold yoga, whatever it is, right? Or maybe we think of mystics as going off somewhere to a top of a mountain and really not helping anybody else, just going there meditating by themselves. And then there are those sitting in this room who actually have a very strong, regular practice of prayer or meditation. So why pray? And I guess the reason I struggle with answering the question is it forces me to consider and reconsider all of my assumptions about the nature of things, ultimate reality, how I think the world works, and dare I say what I think about God. The popular notion is that prayer only involves asking for something from a supreme being. Yet even as a child, this popular image of an old man with a white beard and fluffy clouds kind of puzzled me. In high school, I remember my minister preaching something in the effect that God was more than a little gray-haired magician in the sky. Perhaps God is more than the micromanager of human affairs, or a supreme being who you can make a contract with to change what already is or will be. God, Holy One, source of mystery, the cosmos, the interdependent web of life, whatever you call it, prayer asks us to consider how we might converse with, actively engage in, connect with the one of many names, a way of things, the holy, the great mystery. Even being raised in a predominantly humanist congregation, I remember as a child, I thought a lot about prayer and the nature of God. I wondered what the appropriate form of prayer should be. Maybe someday I'd become a minister, right? I was thinking about all this stuff all the time. And like, why did people bow their heads if God was in the sky? That just seemed kind of weird. Wouldn't you be talking with God to address God? And why was prayer so somber and not joyous? Hokey pokey and laughing meditation makes a whole lot of sense, more sense to me. And even as a child, I knew the lesson was that one shouldn't worry too much about the posture of prayer or meditation. There's just too many forms, ways to do it. Like the head being head first in the well with your feet poking up. So as you may know in the religion biz, this asking for God, asking God for something is a prayer known as petitionary prayer. You know, those are one of my $10 words from seminary, or if you were raised Catholic, you'd know that. This hasn't always been an easy kind of prayer for me. Asking something for myself doesn't come very easily when there is so much need in the world. Yet a petitionary prayer could even be as simple as saying, when you're going too fast, please don't let me rear end the car in front of me, right? That's petitionary prayer. You didn't know well, certainly you've never done that before, but you may not know that's petitionary prayer. I certainly have never done that before. When we are thinking of a loved one who is ill or dying and say to the sky or with closed eyes, please let them be okay. This type of prayer is intercessionary prayer. when one calls upon God or the universe on behalf of another. I personally have been most comfortable in my life praying on others' behalf or with thoughts of thanksgiving, like a grace before meal. I treasure the taking of time to recognize we are so lucky if we have food on our table or a roof over our heads, and that it's a joy when we're able to eat together safely with one another at the table. There's petitionary prayer, intercessionary prayer, prayers of thanksgiving, even the why me prayers of lamentation, why'd this happen to me? Shaking the fist towards the heaven, why is there so much hardship in the world? Lamentations. Both part of the Jewish and the Christian vocabulary. There are other forms of prayer and spiritual practices that we may more readily associate with Eastern traditions, though they're also within the Jewish and Christian heritage and Islamic heritage. Meditation practices of quiet and silence and chanting and walking mindfully like you can do downstairs with our labyrinth. These practices also appeal to me. As a child, I remember this really profound experience. I think I spent a lot of time alone thinking. I don't know about you. During one of those times, I was outside, and my house was on a corner, a very busy street and a quiet street, a big lawn with overarching trees. And I remember on a windy day, I was just sitting. It was warm, but it was windy, sitting still with the grass. And the grass would sway this way, and I would sway that way, and the grass would sway this way, and I would sway that way. And soon I was imagining that I was a blade of grass. And so if someone was looking up at the hill, they wouldn't see a little girl. They'd just see me, another piece of grass swaying. And the birds up in the tree that they were singing to me and the other blades of grass. And nobody really was paying attention to us, but boy, it was nice, just swaying. And I'll never forget that feeling of oneness and stillness and just being intermeshed with the natural world. This deep connection, this keen awareness of creation and the swirling cosmos around us can be called prayer. This spiritual discipline of presence in the world, just really feeling that heartbeat of life that sometimes you hear in drumming and the chant of this heartbeat of life. The 19th century French preacher Auguste Sabatier said, "The essence of religion is a commerce, a conscious and willed relation, into which the soul enters with the mysterious power on which it feels that it and its destiny depend," this act of prayer, by which I mean not an empty utterance of words, not the repetition of a certain sacred formula, but the movement of the soul, putting itself in personal relation and contact with the mysterious power, whose presence it feels even before it's able to give it a name. Where the inward prayer is wanting, there is no religion. On the other hand, wherever this prayer springs up in the soul and moves it, even in the absence of all form and doctrine clearly defined, there is truly religion. Living piety, prayer is the very soul of religion. We can get so lost in the demands of the day, the shoulds and the should nots, the busyness that we let rule our lives, we can lose sight of this wondrous mystery that swirls around us, the birds singing and the grass waving. We may miss the subtle calls for help from those we love We may get so caught up in what we want to do next that we don't savor the now, the moment right now. And this comes from another Mary Oliver poem, Flare, with its lessons about paying attention and feeling connected. Did you know that the ant has a tongue with which to gather in all that it can of sweetness? Did you know that? Therefore, tell me, what will engage you? What will open the dark fields of your mind? Like a lover of first touching. When loneliness comes stalking, go into the fields. Consider the orderliness of the world. Notice something you've never noticed before, like the tambourine sound of the snow cricket, whose pale green body is no longer than your thumb. Stare hard at the hummingbird in the summer rain, shaking the water sparks from its wings. Let grief be your sister. She will, whether or no, rise up from the stump of sorrow and be green also, like the diligent leaves. A lifetime isn't long enough for the beauty of this world and the responsibilities of your life. Scatter your flowers over graves and walk away. Be good-natured and untidy in your exuberance. In the glare of your mind, be modest and beholden to what is tactile and thrilling. Live with the beetle and the wind. Prayer or meditation, whatever you wish to call it, is whatever it takes to help you break away from the busyness and the distractions of the moment, to break out of the sense of aloneness that comes from a life that can become disconnected from the vitality of being part of others' lives and the world and the holiness around us. Not to be doing, going, always going, but to simply bask in the sunlight of awareness. Be attentive to the fullness of the moment that life's gift is to us. It may be the practice of sitting still in a room or outside in a beautiful place. Perhaps this deep awareness of connectedness comes when walking or running or skiing or singing in the harmony with others, maybe even when washing dishes. I remember I was the baby of the family, and I had 2 older sisters, as I've mentioned. Somehow my brother never had to help wash dishes. But my sisters did, and when they went away to college, it was my turn, and I wasn't looking forward to it. But when washing dishes, my mom would look out the window. I would dry, she would wash, and she would get so reflective. And she'd tell me stories of her life, what she learned. She would tell me of her childhood. When I wash dishes, I look out my window. I think of her stories, and I think of life, and I see a hawk, and even washing dishes, cleaning house, or doing yard work can be a prayer or a meditation. I think when watching children play. I think when I was a mother of young children, I'd have to remember downtime, sitting time, floor time. That was what I'm thinking of, floor time. I would be busy. If they were occupied on the floor, it was like, oh, phew, now I can fold clothes, I can run around, and I'd have to remember, no, I need to have floor time with them too. And how beautiful it was, and what a moment it was when time stopped, watching children play. Maybe these are times of reflection, of prayer, or meditation, deep connection for you. A time when one may enter into dialogue with God, the cosmos, the universe, whatever you want to call it, the goddess. It can be done anytime. When I sat on the bus stop waiting for my bus for work, it was a time of deep concentration, meditation, and watching the world around me. Petitionary and intercessionary prayer, lamentation and thanksgiving all might have a place for you, maybe in your spiritual vocabulary, maybe not. But what about this sitting still in silence? A professor of mine in seminary always would ask us, are you a human being or a human doing? And I'd have to think, okay, I'm not a bean, like a green bean. I'm a human being, is what I am. Stop in the midst of our busyness to reflect upon the mysteries and holiness of life. Gretchen Thompson, in that long poem, Redbird in White Snow, said, I wonder what it might be. I wonder if it might not be a prayer begins in me each time I see a red bird in white snow. Every time I see one, something deep inside is touched and moved and arcs with a deep sense of mystery. Even in the apparent solitude of prayer, it takes us beyond ourselves and connects us with the rest of life. The Sufi poet Rumi said, rather than a passive thing, he said, come take a pickaxe and break apart your stony self. The heart's matrix is glutted with rubies. Springs of laughter are buried in your breast. Unstop the wine jar. Batter down the door to the treasury of non-existence. The water in your jug is brackish and low. Smash the jug and go to the river. Henry Nelson Wyman suggested just hold your soul arched like an outstretched wing and let the winds of ultimacy lift skyward. In a sense, the way we live our lives is our prayer. Our response to all that is, may we live with intention, with an open heart, mind, and soul, ready to receive whatever grace and wisdom and beauty might await. All that is holy, the universe is always ready to converse with us, ready for that conversation. All we need to do is take some time and stop and have that conversation. So why pray? Joan Chisater, a Benedictine nun, says that prayer in the end is not centered on the needs and wants and insights of the person praying. It is anchored in the needs and wants and insights of the entire universe. I come to realize I am not the center of the universe, but I am cut from its cloth and subjects to its struggles and promised its promises. I find I bring to the microscope of prayer not simply the mood of the moment, but the whole life task of becoming fully human. A person is plunged in the feelings and forces of the entire universe. That simple act. I want to take the plunge to become more fully human, the plunge into the feelings and the forces of God, Goddess, source of life, the universe, interdependent web of life, whatever you may call it. And how do I begin? One way, maybe sitting still. Another way might be to sing, might be to sing together. So let's sing, let's do it. Number 163, a beautiful hymn about the earth, for the earth forever turning, 163 in the gray hymnal. And Alan will play a short intro.
is the time in our service when we will pass the plate and accept your offerings. And you may also go to our website to make a donation online. A portion of today's offering will be shared this month with the Lancaster Cleft Palate Clinic. Established in 1938, it is the oldest clinic in the world devoted to the comprehensive care of children born with cleft lips and other craniofacial anomalies, regardless of their ability to pay. Before we pass the plate, let us read in unison the affirmation of faith found in the front of your gray hymnal, and I think it will appear in the Zoom chat as well. First in English and then in Spanish. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ofrenda. Este es nuestro gran pacto, el convivir unidos con paz, el buscar la verdad en amor, y ayudarnos unos a los otros. I have some announcements today. Please look at our weekly email newsletter, the Love Letter, for weekly need-to-knows and events here, as well as our Facebook page and our website calendar. And to sign up for the newsletter, if you don't already get it, please contact the office. We have an announcement from the auction team. As of late last night, preliminary totals for the auction, which ended yesterday at noon. We have, from our generous sponsors, $14,750. For our silent auction items, which you bid up, $5,568. Instant items, which you signed up for a place at a dinner or an event, $9,757. Raffle tickets, $3,200. And spontaneous donations, $1,305. If you're a math whiz, you've already got the total, but I don't. Well, I have it here written. I'm not a math whiz. $34,580. And thank you to the hard work of all the people on the auction committee and all the wonderful support from sponsors and everyone who contributed to the auction in some way. We're always looking to spread the love and joy on Sundays to those who would like to help out with the morning. And if you're interested in being a worship associate, please let me know, or Reverend Pat. If you'd like to be part of the choir, play an instrument, or become a member of the tech team, please let Eli know. And if you'd like to be part of the first Sunday coffee hour team, please let Pat Cluley or Reverend Pat know. Next Sunday, and let me see, I think you have some announcements on the insert from your page, and I'll let you read that. It should be quite a hoot, the spiritual discipline of laughter. Also following the service next Sunday, there'll be a labyrinth walking that begins down at Founders Hall for a self-guided meditative walk. And there will be a Passover Seder for which reservations are required, specifically designed for young children. I'll let you read that at your leisure. Today, please stay following the service for a short coffee hour hosted by the Board of Trustees downstairs in Emerson Hall, and then meet to discuss our hopes and aspirations for our Lifespan Faith Development Program and how we might staff it for the long term. Andrea Perry Lerner will be facilitating this workshop and the congregational discussion. And There is more information in your order of service. Okay. We gratefully receive the gifts which have already been collected, freely given, and dedicate them to the work and aspirations of this congregation.
Before we extinguish the chalice, it's been a real treat to have the organ. We don't usually hear the organ. And yes, and Diane is going to share a little bit about the last piece for the postlude before, like I said, before we extinguish the chalice.
Eli and our music team have received requests that the magnificent organ be used and that classical music be included sometimes in our musical diversity. So today's postlude is a short prelude by Johann Sebastian Bach, written about 300 years ago when things were just a little bit different. Organs were looked on with awe, and they were literally considered the king of instruments. The organ was the first instrument that could produce so many different sounds at such a powerful level. And organists were like rock stars.
Just
So
like
that's
you.
pretty cool. Yeah, just like me. I would also add that our organ was moved here from a private home in 500 pieces, and our own Phil Holtzinger was one of the people who helped assemble it, which is beyond my imagination. So we've become used to music with one melody, but in much of Bach's music and music of that time, there are several melodies or voices woven together, which has been likened to two people having a conversation. So you'll hear one slower melody or voice in the left hand, and another one chattering away more quickly in the right. Things quickly become more dissonant, as if they're having an animated discussion or even maybe an ancient political argument. But in the end, you'll hear one voice stop and seemingly listen to the other one, and at the end, in one magnificent chord, harmony is achieved. So hopefully this helps everybody make sense out of music that might be a little foreign to you.
Thank you, Diane. So let us gather up to extinguish our chalice. And again, from John O'Donohue, I don't just quote him on St. Patrick's Day, right? May the light of your soul mind you. May all your worry and anxiousness about becoming old be transfigured. May you be given a wisdom with the eye of your soul to see this beautiful time of harvesting. May you have the commitment to harvest your life, to heal what has hurt you, to allow it to come closer to you and become one with you. May you have great dignity. May you have a sense of how free you are. And above all, may you be given the wonderful gift of meeting the eternal light and beauty that is within you. May you be blessed. And may you find a wonderful love in yourself, for yourself. Go in love, go in peace, go in joy. I hope to see you afterwards for coffee and for conversation about lifespan learning. And may it be so.